bit more fun. So you guys have been doing a fantastic job with pace, but that's only one, and I honestly believe, and thank you for this, guys, it's been a pleasure. Attitude, and I feel it's great in the field. I know it's great in here. So thank you for that. So I think attitude, I think you guys are doing a pretty good job of that 40 to 70 doors, fighting instead of flighting, keeping your momentum up. On the thread, everything looks pretty good. Our pace is fantastic. I've been seeing a lot of people hitting 120, 120, 120. Our pace is not a problem. I think right now what we want to work a little bit more on, I want to give you a few tips on today, is the pitch. How can we get people a little more engaged? How can we get a couple more talk-tos, which is more door presence, but more importantly, how can we take them from talk-to into Prezi? How we can get them engaged, create that connection, and be able to close a couple more leads. The closing is one thing, and we talk about that with like, when we talk about empathize, add value, closing with action. We're not going to touch too much on that today. That's a totally different impact. But this is more about getting the people engaged so we can get into more Prezis. Because it doesn't matter if you're good at closing or not. If you can't get them into a Prezi, the close isn't going to matter. Okay? So one of the things, human nature, when we start doing the same thing repetitively, we're saying the same thing over and over and over again, what do you think we have a tendency to do as human beings? Be robotic. So we start talking a little bit lower. We start talking a little bit more monotone. We start standing a little bit stiller. Our hands might not get it. So as we go on and we get more used to this, it's more like, okay, another door. Hey, how you doing? And you just kind of go through the motions and it's kind of melodic and da-da-da-da-da. And speech is so much more than that. I'd like you to think, I was just talking to Mustafa this morning about it. I want you to think of this more like a story. If you were telling a story to somebody, especially maybe to a child, would it be like, hey, once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away, da-da-da-da-da. What do you do when you're reading, especially to maybe a younger person?
Animate.
Hype it up.
Really animated, really hyped up. Why?
Because
Because if you don't, what's that kid gonna do?
Go to
You
sleep.
tell him a story, he's gonna go to sleep, or he's gonna go over here and just stand up and start playing with something different, and that's why you have a talk to and not a Prezi. Is because you're talking to them, but their mind's over here. You know why their mind's over here? Because your story isn't a story. It's like a pre-programmed something. So we want to be, hey, once upon a time, you got to kind of get them engaged. Now, it's hard to bring that energy. I'm not saying it's easy to every single door, but that's what's required. So hitting 120 doors, if all 120 of them were, hey, how you doing? I'm Nate with ADHR. I'm stopping by to inform you that we're working in the area this week, and due to the age of the homes and some of the feedback in the neighborhood, what do you think is going to happen? You guys know what I'm saying. You already checked out, right? And I think that's what we do. You don't even realize we're doing it, but if you say it enough times, next thing you know, you're just kind of in that rhythm where you're talking too fast, you're talking too low, you don't have your hand motions. All of these things go into speech. So let's break speech down. They've done studies. They have found that 55% of the effectiveness of face-to-face communication is nonverbal. 55% is your hand motions. So, when we teach the pitch, we teach it with hand motions for a reason. Why? Because it's important. If you stop doing that and all of a sudden what if I'm not looking you in the eye? What if I come to you and I'm looking over here, my hands are here or in my pocket, and I'm even if I'm animated and my voice qualities are great, if my body language is just this and I'm not moving at all, how exciting is it to listen? So first things first, talk with your hands, get animated, point things out, show people stuff. The more you do, the more they want to see, man, what's this crazy guy gonna do next? But if I'm standing there kind of rocking back and forth with my hands in my pockets, it's not gonna work. They found that about 38% is voice qualities, and that's what we're gonna talk a little bit about today. Only 7% of the effectiveness of face-to-face communication comes from the words you say. So people are always like, well, what do I say? I don't know what to say. I don't have the right words. The words don't matter nearly as much. Now they matter a little bit. There's some things you can say that there ain't no coming back from, okay? And no matter how you say it, it's still not cool. But for the most part, the words, if you say something the right way, it doesn't matter too much. What if I said, Andy, you are such a jerk? Like, that's not cool, right? You probably feel some kind of way about that, right? That you You're just being polite. But what if I said, Andy, you're such a jerk? Now, either way, I said the exact same words. Which one's gonna be okay? But I still called him a jerk, right? But I didn't mean it, did I? Well, how can you tell I didn't mean it? The tonality, the way I said it, my body language, my voice inflection, the volume, the tone, all of those things weigh into it. So even though the words still weren't very good words, because of how I said it, it wasn't that big a deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the words are important to an extent. There is some psychology behind words. The pitch is written the way it's written for a reason. You should try to follow those word tracks. But remember, even if you mess the words up, as long as you mess it up with the right inflection, you're probably still going to be okay. People will still be engaged. They'll still be all right. What are the things, voice qualities, 38%. So a good chunk of our effectiveness comes from voice qualities. When I say voice qualities, there's a list. What are voice qualities?
Is that what we was just talking about?
That's what I was talking about. Tonality.
Inflection.
Okay, the tone of voice I said something, and your inflection. Am I emphasizing certain, like Mustafa likes to hear me say, did you put the right emphasis on the proper syllables? You know, emphasis, syllable, it doesn't make sense, but emphasis and syllables make sense. Am I emphasizing the right words in the sentence? Am I, what else?
Volume.
We talk about volume a lot. Volume makes a big difference. Okay? Articulation.
Vernacular.
Okay? But you're using big old words. Vernacular is more like saying y'all when you're in the South and saying yous when you're in Philly,
Right.
yins when you're in, knowing what's going to connect with people more. Like if you're in Pittsburgh, you say yins. If you're in Philly, it's yous. If you're down here, it's y'all. It means the same thing. But if I go to Pittsburgh and I say y'all, they're like, you ain't from around here, are you? Because up here, it's yins. So that's more like vernacular, is knowing like the right speech for the region you're in. How about
Charisma
charisma?
is more
Yes,
a personal deal.
but in my opinion, charisma is really the combination of all these things. What makes somebody charismatic? You had a teacher in school that would stand up and like drone on. You guys ever had that? No, you fell asleep, drooled on the desk. How do I know you drooled on the desk?
You did.
You did, didn't you? Wiped it up with your sleeve so nobody noticed? Why is that relatable? Because at some point, every one of you in school, every one of us in school, we had a boring teacher, we put our head down just for a second, next thing you know, you woke up, and there's a big puddle of drool on the desk, you had to hide. Because that teacher was boring. They'd get up and be like, in 1492, Columbus set sail in Manila, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, and within about 2 sentences, you're just over it. But you also had that other teacher that when you came in, they'd split you up into groups, and like, we're gonna have an activity today, and they were upbeat, they made it fun to learn. They would give you the same speech, but you were like, hell yeah, Pinta, Nina, Santa Maria. You're excited about it. Why? It's still the same boring information. Well, because they had charisma, so to speak. So your answer is right, but what made them charismatic? Well, it's because they had the volume, the tone, the pace, the pitch, the whole 9 yards. If you put that package together, people are on the edge of their seats waiting for your next word. They want to hear more. They want to give you the moment to make it make sense. If they're bored before you even get to the end of the pitch, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to give you the time of day. So it can't be, hey, I'm out here. It has to be like, hey, how you guys doing today? I'm Nate. I'm with American Dream Home Remodeling. I'm stopping by to let you know that we're going to be working in your area this week. Due to the age of the homes and some of the feedback we've been getting, we've decided as a courtesy to just give everyone free information on window siding and roofing while we're here. I see your home now. Would this time tomorrow work, or is later in the week more convenient? Now, I'm not saying it has to sound just like that, but did you hear the story there? I'm telling the story of why I'm out here. Why am I visiting with you here? What are we doing? Why is it beneficial to you? How do they learn more? Well, they want to listen to the next thing that comes out. So you got to have almost an entertainment value. You want that charisma to come out. Now, some people are naturally more charismatic than others, but the beautiful thing is, because we understand all these things, it can be taught. How many of you could talk louder? And you have just as much, all of you could be just as loud, right? You might not naturally be that way, but you have a choice to be loud. If you learn where to put the pauses in, how many of you could learn where to put pauses? It's not something you can't learn, right?
Nah.
How to emphasize a certain word in a sentence. Everybody can do it. Some of you do it naturally, some might need to learn it a little bit more, but since we know all the things that combine to equal charisma, I'll keep using your word, I like it. We can put that form together, we can learn how to be more charismatic, we can learn how to tell a better story, okay? Why do some people be able to, are able to tell a great joke? You guys ever know that funny friend, every joke they tell, even the ones that aren't that funny, you laugh your ass off?
Just the way they said it.
And somebody else can have the best joke in the world, material-wise, and it just isn't that funny. Charisma, okay? It's that thing, it's that timing, it's that combination of facial expression, body language, voice inflection, tone. It's putting the pause right where it's supposed to be to get you thinking, and then boom, punchline lands. People learn to do that. They spend their entire career becoming a better comedian. How do you become a better comedian? The joke's either funny or it's not, right? Or does it have a lot to do with delivery? Because this job is the same. It has a lot to do with delivery. And if we're out there delivering a boring performance that's not funny, that's not landing, we can hit 240 doors. And we'll trip over a couple, but we're not going to get all that we could. So the pitch isn't just about memorizing the words, but it's where are we going to put the pauses? So let's talk a little bit about it. How about pauses, commas?
I hate them.
What's that?
I hate them.
You hate commas?
Yes, and period.
Fair enough.
A lot of red marks on my paper.
That's what the teacher hated me about.
Worse, though.
It's
I
real
can
simple.
definitely figure out exactly where to go.
Where the
And
pause
then,
is, it's a run-on. And honestly, this generation, a lot of the younger generation doesn't use, for that reason, like I have trouble reading it sometimes. I'm like, where's the pause? Like it's all one run-on sentence.
Oh, gee.
so
Like,
On
how do I
guard.
read this without the period? Sometimes I read it wrong, but guys, it is important. It's one of the reasons why there's miscommunication sometimes by text, is because if I read it and put the pause in the wrong place because I think it should go here and you meant it to go there, I might misunderstand what you're trying to tell me. There's a big difference between let's eat grandma and let's eat grandma. Okay? The comma and that pause makes a huge difference in how you're going to hear that. So I teach people to pitch a lot of times and they'll say, hey, I'm stopping by to inform you we'll be working in the area this week due to the age of the homes. And the feedback in the neighborhood, like, no, that's not where the pause goes. Does that make sense? It doesn't even make sense. So like, we're going to be working in the area this week due to the age of the homes. And the feedback, like that's, no. Okay, so you have to, hey, I'm Nate with ADHR. I'm stopping by to inform you that we're working in the area this week. Pause. Due to the age of the homes and some of the feedback in the neighborhood, those pauses being in the right place, just for a half a beat longer, maybe a half a beat shorter, like Ben says, even the hey. Instead of hey, it's hey. Just that sounds so much more friendly. Hey means common courtesy. Hey means I know you from somewhere. Even though they don't know you, guess what they'll be thinking? Do I know this dude? Because nobody you don't know goes, hey, like they haven't seen you in a while. So guess what? We got them off they're off their mark a little bit right from the start. Mm-hmm. They're wondering, like, do I know this guy? Like, I need to be polite because I'm not sure if I know him or not. She doesn't look familiar, but the way she greeted me sounds like somebody I've met before. So that's why you just elongate that. Putting the pauses and the cadence is important. How about inflection? So here's a good one. I didn't say she stole the money. What's that mean?
That means you ain't said she stole the money.
It means I didn't say she stole the money. Yeah, the same response as always. Anytime I say this to a room full of people, they all look at me like, what do you mean, what does it mean? It means, it can only mean one thing, right? It means that you didn't say she stole the money. Everybody agree? Yeah, no? What if I were to say, I didn't say she stole the money?
Oh, now you dry sneaky.
What's that mean? I mean, it wasn't me. Somebody else said that, but it wasn't me, right? Well, I didn't say she stole the money. What does that mean? I might have implied it, I might have gave a nod or a wink, but I didn't actually come out and say it. Well, I didn't say she stole the money.
You said it was her.
I said it was somebody different. I said it, but it wasn't her, it's a different person. Well, I didn't say she stole the money.
She borrowed it.
She borrowed it, she's bringing it back. Well, I didn't say she stole the money.
Oh, you talking about that money?
She took some other money, not the money in question. Well, I didn't say she stole the money.
She stole my car.
She took the car. The money was just inside. Like, whatever, you understand, that one cut and dry sentence that everybody thinks can only mean one thing, if you say it the right way, you can make it mean 6, 7, 8 different things to the listener just based on how you, your inflection is, how you emphasize the syllables. And by doing that, you can change the dynamic of what you're saying. So understanding that between our volume, our tone, our inflection, the pace at which we're talking. Guys, we're in the South. You should slow down for most people. Okay? Not for everybody, but for most folks down here, they want things a little bit slower. Don't talk fast like them city boys. Okay? They want a little bit, hey, y'all, how are you tonight? My name's Nate, I'm down here. But if you do get that person that comes up there and like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And they're da-da-da-da-da-da, guess what you should do?
Hey man, how's it going?
Speed up just a little bit, kind of match it a little bit. People feel more comfortable if you match. So your speed, in general, should be slower than you're probably saying, because when you get used to saying this, you say it faster than you think you are. Make sense? So you should, in general, slow down some, but then try to match the energy of the person that you're talking to a little bit when it comes to the speed. Okay?
The one thing you normally say is match plus one.
Match plus one. So if they're real slow, you might want to talk just a little bit fast. If they're real like low energy, you don't want to be super high energy, it's going to annoy them. So you want to be low, not quite as low as them, just a little bit, one notch above. So you're still bringing them up, but it's not so dramatic that it makes them feel uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So you want to match that energy plus one. For speed, you want to match the energy maybe just a touch faster, but pretty much match that. You know, if they're slow talking. If it's an older person, you want to talk a little bit louder because the ears aren't as good as they used to be. And you want to talk a little bit slower because their mind doesn't process information quite as fast as it used to. So that's, and you do it naturally, don't you? None of you have like an 80-year-old lady who you're like, hey ma'am, how are you today? You go, hey, how are you? Don't you?
Yeah.
You're guilty, aren't you? It's almost mean, isn't it?
And then she'll look at me
Yeah,
like,
and
what
then
you
we'll be
want?
like,
Little old lady's like,
Judgment.
I must be old because they're talking to me like, hi sir, how are you? If anybody talks to me like that, I'm going to be mortified. Like, I'm not that old. But we do it. We're going to slow everything down, tone it down a little bit. You want to remind them of your, but what are you changing? You're changing your voice tone. It's softer, it's slower, it's you know, maybe a little more articulate. You're going to take the time to make sure you're not like slurring your words together. You're articulating every word so they get a really good understanding of what you're saying. So we can change it a little bit from door to door, but as a general rule, you just want to infuse some more energy into your storytelling. So we've got the pace down, we're hitting all the doors, we want to get to the door and imagine that you're telling a story to somebody and you need to keep them engaged. Does everybody agree that if you got people more engaged, if they were more just generally interested in you as a person, kind of intrigued by your story that you're telling, that they'd be more likely to hear the next segment of your process?
For sure.
And if we get into more prezzies, what's that going to lead to?
More leads.
Also, if I'm charismatic, what does that usually mean?
Stronger lead.
Don't you usually like people that are full of charisma? Okay? That's kind of what charisma is. Charisma comes, believe it or not, from the Greek word for grace, which is charis. Okay? Charisma, so it's gracious. It's somebody you like. It's somebody you enjoy being around. So that's where charismatic comes from. So when you're like more charisma, people tend to want to hear you speak. They want to be your friend. They want to help you out. If you're boring and dull or rude, or it just seems like you don't really like your job very much, guess what they want to do?
Fuck away
I'm
from
going to
it.
shoot you to the next door. So if we combine our pace, and you guys have done a great job, it doesn't take any longer to say it the right way, like with some charisma, than it does just to fly through it. So without messing our pace up, we can just add some more energy, add some charisma, tell a little bit better story, and that should yield more prezzies, in turn giving you an opportunity to close more leads.
Make more money.
You know that's right. Any questions?
No,
no,
sir.
sir.
Feedback?
Nope.
Cool.